And we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Thursday afternoon as we get ready for a pretty big few days of Penn State athletics. I'll actually get underway tonight with the Penn State women's volleyball team in Louisville taking on Nebraska. And it is interesting, Goon, because you have a situation there where in any other scenario, right, you have Pitt, the number one overall seed, and Louisville, which is hosting the event as the number 4 seed. That would be 99% of the time the marquee matchup, thus the later game. You're like, all right, let's get the other one out of the way. But it is Penn State and Nebraska, the two most storied programs in women's volleyball. When it comes to national titles won. And it's interesting. Again, I don't know that it much matters one way or the other for either or any of the programs, but I am curious to see what the viewership is tonight. It's ESPN. We'll be covering both matches. 6:30 is when things will get underway with the Pitt-Louisville match. But again, instinctively, you're like, well, yeah, that would obviously be the second one, except there is Penn State and Nebraska sitting there, and they're like, nah, for viewership, we have to get that in there as the featured semifinal matchup.
When did they move the final to ABC?
That is a good question.
Sort of
I don't know the answer.
I've always remembered to be on. And then, I've always remembered it to be Saturday night, but they're actually going to be Sunday afternoon will be the final match on ABC, which is odd because I guess with the NCAA football going on, they just said, you know what, we don't want to compete with ourselves, I guess.
I think that's right.
Well, and it's a good idea. But I like the fact that it's ABC and it's moving on up. They're trying to, get a little more viewership with the women's volleyball. I mean, I'm telling you, I watched that match. I watched the last 2 or 3 matches, and I've, Carrie played high school volleyball, so she knows it, and she just sits there in awe. Like, I watch football because I know how hard what these guys are doing, how easy they make it look.
Yep.
And she's just like, you don't know how hard that is, what they do out there with digging the ball, blocking, setting, and spiking. It's just unbelievable. She's just like amazed by it, and it is just it's unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, and this really is, to me, the ultimate toss-up match tonight, and really probably both of them, because Louisville's been playing very well down the stretch, and again, it's at home. At home, right? And so, Pitt is the number 1 overall seed, and rightfully so. They have been the most consistently great team in the country this year, but boy, that is a tough assignment in the semifinals where you're facing the host school. So a couple of very intriguing matches tonight.
That's an amazing story
in women's volleyball.
Katie herself is just an unbelievable story. That in itself.
The people, they have no idea what you're
Katie
talking
Schumacher.
about.
I said Katie.
Yeah, but
Mr.
they have
Schumacher
you're saying that right
no.
there. They're not able to see the TV that you're looking at.
Situation, her being just going through chemo and cancer and all that stuff is just, and then still doing what she's doing. It's just amazing.
Katie Schumacher, Conley, the head coach of the Penn State women's volleyball team. And Penn State and Nebraska again, probably 9-ish, give or take a little bit tonight, following the Pitt-Louisville women's volleyball match. Of course, everybody gearing up for Penn State and SMU Saturday at 12 noon in Beaver Stadium. And Goon, the closer we get, it's interesting. I've seen a couple of national analysts now, like of the 4 teams that are home, Penn State is the one in the most trouble, according to a couple of the analysts. I think all 4 games have some intrigue to them. Texas, it was interesting because early on, I saw a few folks that I think Clemson could pull off the upset over Texas. I'm seeing nobody now saying that. Now Clemson is a little banged up. Obviously, Texas, despite the loss to Georgia, playing very well down the stretch. And so And I think, of all of the seeds, I think Clemson at 12 is the most apropos as I just don't think Clemson this season with that team, the way it's comprised, is a serious threat here to win the national title. Like that's of all of the teams in the playoffs, that would be the most shocking result to me, would be Clemson even getting to the championship game. And truthfully, to me, I just don't see them advancing out of the first round. But the other three games, I think for different reasons, you're seeing, this could happen. Indiana, certainly with its offense, I think can create some problems for Notre Dame. I think they have a chip on their shoulder, especially after the Ohio State loss. Notre Dame has been playing very, very well. That is I think, a really intriguing game. But the team that I think is the one that I am most curious about is Ohio State. And more so, like, I have no idea whether, and I could see it playing out any of these ways, where it's like, nope, we have something to prove. We're going to go win a national title. We're going to prove everybody wrong. That Michigan game was fluky, and man, they're all in, and here we go, and they play lights out. I can see that happening. I can see where, with all of the finger pointing and I'm not saying in the locker room, I'm saying in Columbus, this and that, and the coaching staff, I can see that team saying, it's time to get on to the NFL. Let's go get this thing out of the way and let me move on. I think that is a possibility for this team. And I could see anything in between. And Tennessee goes up there with, I think, something to prove. I think they feel like they're carrying the SEC banner. That game is interesting, and I could see going different ways. But to me, it really is all about what is the mental approach and what is the actual feeling in that locker room for Ohio State in terms of what they think they can really go out and achieve here.
Yeah, I mean, they can go out right now and win this whole thing. They have the talent to do that.
There's no question they have the talent.
They can go out and do that, or like you're saying, they could mail it in. And I don't think their fans are happy out there. I told you my friend the other day, he's not going to the game. Lifelong ticket guy, big booster. He's not going to the game. He refuses to go. I mean, there are people who have actually turned on Ryan Day, but in that same breath, Ryan Day can still win a national title, and then they could still have his haters out there. And people are, there's some kid on Facebook or so on Twitter. There's some kid out there. He's like, I don't care. You can win a national title. I don't care. You still lost to Michigan. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, you got to get past this Michigan-Ohio State thing and all that. But I do want to go back to the Clemson thing, and that is that they sort of backdoored their way in to the. They had to have a lot of help getting into the ACC title game against SMU. They had Miami lose late in the game, late in the year.
Yep.
All of that stuff. Everything worked out for them to go in there. And staff, I don't know about the players, but the staff have coached in huge games for a long time.
Yep.
So nothing. They weren't, the scene wasn't too big for them. The spotlight was not too big for them against SMU. And they handled SMU in that first half big time, and then they hung on at the end. So do I think that Clemson has the ability to hang with Texas? I mean, we only know about two Texas teams, and that's the one that they lost to the same team twice. Whether they're just not matched up well with Georgia or they're not as good as we think, because each of these games has this aura about them that we haven't played anybody. We haven't beat anybody is the moniker on us.
Yep.
Notre Dame hasn't played anybody, nor have they beat anybody. Indiana hasn't played anybody, nor have they beat anybody. Texas has not beat anybody. And, Clemson is Clemson, but, SMU is out there. There's a lot of, like, that stuff going on with these 8 teams that are all very similar, where will say that all 4 favorites will advance, the home teams will advance, but in the same breath, I could say that I could possibly see all 4 home teams losing these games. I mean, they are very, very intriguing matchups. They're great matchups. The NCAA did a great job. The committee did a great job of getting these games up and ready. I did see an interview with Pat talking about the, what they had to do. They had to do $4.5 million of renovations to the stadium to get it winterized, and they had to do it quick when they, going into the season, knowing that there was that possibility. And then there hasn't been an issue, they have said so far, with any of that stuff. So kudos to Penn State and the OPP people working out at that stadium, getting that thing winterized, because that's not an easy thing.
It is not. And listen, the field is going to be interesting. You did say you talked to Pat Kraft, Penn State's athletic director, about.
Yeah, I did talk to Pat.
It is a home game for Penn State, meaning that. Yeah, when the defense is out there, you can't pump the music and get your
that
team
was a great
fired up.
You had the other day, and it was like, can you put we will
right.
rock you. Can you put the claps on that are and I get our defense pumped up, and or will they do that? But no, he said no. It is a home game, and they have control of the music. So which is great. Which is fantastic, because we are not going to have the amount of students we thought we would have. I have heard speculation that maybe that they're going to release a lot more tickets for students if they'd like to stay. I just heard that as a speculation. Somebody said that, but everybody has opinions right now. But I would like to see the stadium full.
I mean, listen, I was a townie, so it would be an easy decision for me. But I would be surprised, and I'm surprised a lot. So take that for what it's worth. But I really would be surprised if the students, if given the opportunity, wouldn't turn out en masse. Again, Christmas isn't until Wednesday. This is historic. I mean, this is the first time ever that Penn State is in the playoffs, number one. You're hosting just the second ever playoff game on a home team's site, right? Friday night will be Indiana at Notre Dame, and then Penn State and SMU is second. So you're one of the first series of games here to ever be played on campus sites here for the playoffs. That just, I just find that hard to believe. And listen, and this could end up being a national championship season. Well, do you not want to,
say I was there
when you have the opportunity? Looking back, say, I was there. I was part of that experience. I have a tough time getting my mind around that.
Who would not want to be up there?
Yes, and especially with the weather looking, it'd be one thing if it looks like a horrendous snowstorm, or it's going to be, minus 20 and icy and all that.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold, no doubt. Bundle up. It's not like Penn State fans aren't expecting cold weather and don't have the wardrobe for it.
The whiteout gear might be a little different. Might be a little
maybe a little whiteout.
Hunting colors.
Get those extra big T-shirts to throw over all of the other
PSU players show. Hey,
all
I have
of
an
the
honest
other
question.
stuff. Yeah.
Did you see Chris Spookinani's tweet last night? And it was just a question like, do you think that the hotels have finally broke this weekend with I'm going to call it price gouging when it came to the ticket prices on the hotel pricing? Do you think that was the straw that broke the camel's back? Because I have had multiple people I would call and I say, when are you coming up? And I've had multiple people say, it ain't. Nah, I'm not out of pocket $2-3 grand before a ticket,
Yeah.
And what is your feeling on that, bud?
It may be. And I will say that is the one thing. Like I have a nephew and his buddy who you met. They came up for the whiteout game, first whiteout experience, and they're coming back. They both graduated from Kent State in Ohio last year, but obviously my nephew follows Penn State closely because both his dad and I graduated together from Penn State. So he's been, a Penn State fan all of his life. But having gone through that experience, they're coming up, but they're staying with us, with my folks, and so they're not having to worry about that part of it. And so, it may be that may be a determining factor.
We know that they were already high. Already high was probably $300 or $400 because that's what they do for graduation. It is a That's capitalism. I get it. I understand that.
Yeah.
And they were already half sold out before the home football game came up. So a hotel's job is to, there's a demand, then you raise the price. And they were already half sold out. I could see why the prices were set very high, but it was the sticker shock that got everybody.
Yes.
To the point where I'm like, there are a lot of people who normally would be here who just said, no, I can't do it. I just can't afford it. It's Christmas week. It's already a tough month. I just don't have that extra 3 or 4K. And then it's a big thing. And there's other people who were like, you know what, I'm holding out for the Fiesta Bowl, or I'm holding out possibly for the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just kind of looking at that, just kind of kicking the tires a little bit. Like, is that something at all that we want to explore? And listen, we're getting ready for, we're planning a Yellowstone trip here in the spring, and we have our normal vacation down in Carolina. And so it's like, all right, what works or doesn't work here. And that is the other component here. And listen, there are many Penn State fans who are very well off, and they're like, yep, let's sign me up. I'm ready to go to all of this, and great. And that's awesome, and appreciated, and all of it. But it is tricky if you are not poverty stricken, but you're limited. I think most of us are. It's like, we
specifically this time
we have some money, we have some discretionary money. I do think I will be curious to see. I had a couple of buddies that went out to the Big Ten championship game, and great experience, all of that. And I haven't talked to them yet. I'll reach out to them probably this weekend, or maybe not till Monday. But if you are able to afford a trip, you're like, man, this is once in a lifetime. What do you do here? Is it like, well, we know we're going to have a good time at the Fiesta Bowl. That's always been a great experience. Again, all of these games are going to be on TV, so you understand that you're going to have the chance to watch this team. But if you're trying to figure out, again, you have the opportunity to, I can save up, or I have saved up, and I can take myself or the family to a trip. It presents an interesting dilemma here, because obviously chance that they go to the Fiesta Bowl and lose, and then it's over. And if you're like, well, no, I'm going to save up for the Final Four and head down to the Orange Bowl. And then, I guess, then there's some newfound cash for you. So that's the upside. But again, or do you go to the Fiesta Bowl and then they go to the national championship game? Oh, man, I wish, boy, that's a bummer. I wish I would have waited to go down to Atlanta
next week.
Yeah, it is tricky. And I don't think there's a lot of, again, percentage of the fans I'm talking about. There are a lot of fans that will, I am sure, travel to all three if given the opportunity. But I think a majority of fans are like, I can probably pull off one. Well, what do you try to hold out? And man, I want to be there in Atlanta when they win the national title for the first time since 94, or recognized from 86 by the outside world. Or do you, man, I really want to be there? And I don't know. That's just an interesting side story here. And
well, I know many people who the bowl trip is their vacation.
That's their
Christmas gift to each other, husband and wife, maybe a kid or two. I know many people who are like that, and it's like, I have talked to people, and I did some research, by the way. This is not from Pat. Do you know that the players who are involved and going to these games, traveling to these games, and our home players, there is a $3,000 from the NCAA or the college football playoff. $3,000 to the family for travel.
To cover.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know what? I had to take my hat off, and I said, "Good job! You finally did something smart." They're giving, each family gets a $3,000 voucher for travel and hotel.
3,000 probably wouldn't cover it though. If you're,
I know. And then you start thinking about
for Penn State, right?
Yeah,
I think for some of the teams it would, but
the rooms. There was a big article today on like the rooms are like super expensive here, but they have been coming down for 2 days now. But like they're saying the ticket prices in Columbus are through the roof, and in South Bend are through the roof. They have the hotels are $250, $300 a night, because they have a bevy of them because they are in a city. We are 95 miles away from the largest airport other than State College.
Yeah, although
SMU's flying 2 planes in. I guess the whole runway thing came into play again. They start talking about it that that the NCAA or they need to extend the airport air. What?
Yeah, the runway for the airport. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's talk about that again, but SMU is coming in, and they're like being a big thing. Oh, they have to drive their equipment in. I'm like, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, everybody drives their equipment in. It doesn't matter where the game is. We had talked about when we played at USC or UCL or at USC, how we had to come up, how the guys, driver had to go across the country in his company, and then when Washington and UCLA came here. They drove their vehicle. So they tried to say, well, the SMU has to drive their equipment in. It's like everybody does that. But it's also a bowl game. So I don't know. The old adage when we were players, we used to call the people who you've never seen before, we used to call them driftwood.
Yeah.
That was the people that it was like, well, we've been traveling here. This is our 6th road game now this year, where it's like, who are you? And, the plane is twice the size it was before because there's twice as many people on there. And that's what they say about SMU. They're going to bring a couple different boatloads, the band, cheerleaders, the staff, the players, and then the academic people, and then the university people.
Yep. Yeah. And that's all, that's all part of it. I do think so. Just for this game, I a couple of things I am curious to see is does the game ultimately sell out? And to me, or maybe more important, do the tickets sold results in fannies in the seat? Is it a packed stadium for this game? Which I've always just presumed, like automatically, no matter what, if you held it Christmas Day, I figured that would still occur just because of the passion. But I'm now curious to see that. Number one, also, like SMU is kind of if you're an SMU fan, you're in a similar position though. Well, yeah, it's a smaller school, but also, are you wanting to, and again, I'm talking more if you're not very well off and the travel is not an issue. If you're like, man, I could go to a game. Are you really making the trip to State College with the hassle, all of it there, with travel for a game that is going to be cold and all of that? Or do you, I'm going to hold off and wait and see if they win that game? Then yes, sign me up. I want to go to Tempe and let's check out the Boise State game. Instinctively, I would think that they're holding out a little bit. But kind of similar thing. Well, this is the first ever playoff experience for your school. Do you not want to take advantage of that opportunity to see them in that first matchup live? If given the
call
opportunity,
today was all they talk about. Like I told you on Tuesday, they won't shut up about the weather. Today was what they're going to wear underneath their jerseys. Well, yesterday, that was last night.
Yeah.
Are they going to wear vests? Are they going to wear heated this, heated that? And they're not even talking about the game. So, but as the fans, they are the ones that are there. Ultimately, they're the ones, are they traveling here or not? And you're right. Honestly, Dallas to Tempe is a drive. So they're okay, I think, that way. So, and I just think that the true hardcore, like we had a decision 2 weeks ago, and that was to go to Indianapolis or stay and save some money for another bowl game, and that was one of the first choices. I guess that people in the ACC did too, actually, when they played Clemson. So it's tough. I've thought about this, and you know what? you were saying this and you're talking, I was like, these are literally first world problems. You know what I mean?
No
Which
doubt.
game do you want to go to? You know,
No
there's only
doubt.
12 teams left in the country, and we're one of them. I'm just so happy about that. But yes, I've often worried the past few years, and that is that how fans can do it. You know, I mean, it's like you got to make a lot of sacrifices, and then do you roll the dice and say, okay, we're going to get through SMU, and we're going to go to Boise. We're going to take. I got an idea. We're going to take care of Boise, so I'm going to save my money for the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too, because like Penn State has a strong alumni presence out in Arizona,
yes,
and actually has a strong alumni presence in the Miami area as well.
Oh yeah.
Snowbirds
will be down there by then. So,
and I'm not sure about Atlanta. I mean, Penn State has fans everywhere, obviously, as a lot of the bigger schools do. I'm not sure if Atlanta is as much of a stronghold.
Very accessible, plane wise. You'd have to have pretty much most of the South. I mean, is there a the Texas Coalition? They would go up there.
That's
Northern
true.
Florida. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's going to be nice, but again, I'm just happy that we're having these thoughts and these conversations about our team, because I have often thought about these. I didn't know about the $3,000 that each family gets, but that is great. Because, as a player, I would have been worried about my mom and dad having to go to 3 or 4 different games. I mean, they couldn't go. They couldn't afford to do that. And the fact that they have stepped up and actually did that, I mean, that makes me so happy. I read that and I was like, thank God somebody's doing something right with a lot of this money. And if you think about it, it's $3,000 for 105 kids. I mean, it's really a drop in the bucket of what's being thrown around out there. And you make a lot of people happy,
Yeah, a couple of things. Ned says, "Let's go," and I'm with you. Let's just get this thing going now. It's been decades in the making and waiting for it. Matt asks, "Why so much non-love for Penn State by national media, Klatt, McAfee, etc." The one thing that is curious to me, and again, it's predictions and. Some are going to be right. Some are going to be wrong. I don't think anything is outlandish. You can make whatever calls you want. We'll see how it plays out. The one thing that is getting under my skin a little bit is I keep seeing very consistently, and it's Penn State and Indiana. Well, they haven't played anybody. They haven't beaten anybody. And it's a fair enough point to make, except that who exactly did Texas beat? Who exactly did Notre Dame beat?
Clemson.
Clemson
had, SMU had one of their victories, one of their big wins. Did you see that on the decision day, whatever, last Sunday? One of their big wins, Pitt. I'm like, really? We're marking Pitt as a top victory? I mean, come on.
Yes, and the thing is, I mean, right on down the line, like I don't know that there are. They make it sound like, and they being the Klatts and the McAfees, that like it's only Penn State and Indiana that don't have. I just don't know why you're pointing it out with them, and it's fair to point out. I mean, I'm not saying that it's it's one of the things that I would like to see changed, and I do hope. Whether it's just the conferences getting together or whether we get a commissioner of college football or at least some centralized commissioner-like group of people that kind of start navigating the different waters of college football. I do hope we get like a Big Ten SEC early season matchup across the board. Take the, projected top teams. And again, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to get some games wrong, but just like they did with the Big Ten ACC basketball challenge for all those years, you're trying to get competitive matchups. I think that would be fun. I think it would be great for the interest. It would give you the chance to get that marquee win. I mean, Penn State outside of the conference, and yep, I get in the conference, you're always going to have at least an opportunity for a marquee win. You have no chance for a marquee win outside of the conference next year if you're Penn State. And Penn State is not alone by any stretch in that regard. But why Penn State and Indiana? And maybe I'm
Has McAfee, because he was on Penn State big time early in the year, did he sour after the Ohio State game? Because I don't think McAfee's been dogging him that much, but I also don't really listen to McAfee. I see him on everything. But I don't really. But Trent Klatt he's very, very much on social media.
Joel Klatt.
Well,
yeah,
it's unbelievable.
His thing on the
Booch is laughing right now if he's watching it.
His thing on the whiteout is that's aggravating because it's not. Yes, obviously you can have a whiteout, knucklehead. Like nobody is saying it's impossible to have the whiteout at noon. What everybody is saying is it is not the same as like you want that at night.
Brady Quinn started that same thing the other day with the whole whiteouts.
I mean, they do understand it, and truthfully, I get it to a large degree. They are paid by the networks. That Klatt is paid by Fox. They're to promote Big Noon. I'm not expecting him to get on there and say, yeah, this is really bad what we're doing for college football. So to some extent, I guess you give him a pass. But to try to clown Penn State for, I guess you can have a whiteout at noon. Well, yeah, because knucklehead, but
Quinn was starting that same stuff last week. I don't understand. I mean,
do you genuinely not understand that a whiteout under the lights looks different? You don't understand really that the light reflecting off the white is a much better eye-popping image than in the middle of the day. You really don't understand that, Joel?
Look better at night also.
Yeah, funny how that works. And obviously you're giving the full day for the fans to get revved up.
Libated,
revved up is the way I would term that, Goon. It takes them a while to get.
You can see my car from here.
Revving.
The tail is a little way down right now, if you know what I mean. I was getting my preparation started for Saturday.
Indeed. I don't know. I don't know if it just goes back to this SEC Big Ten thing as far as kind of the national commentary dogging on Penn State and Indiana schedules. And again, I'm not sitting here arguing that come on, you got to give Penn State and Indiana more credit. Look at all these great wins. It's just I'm looking at the rest of the teams that are played, and I'm like, well, where exactly are these great, marvelous wins that Notre Dame racked up, or that Texas racked up, or that any of these teams have on the resume, and you're just not finding it. I mean, Tennessee, when you compare Tennessee's schedule like to Georgia or Alabama, well, they also did not. And again, part of it is the luck of the draw. It's not as though Penn State or Tennessee or Indiana or really any of these teams, when it comes to the conference part of the schedule, right? Like Penn State didn't go to the Big Ten and say, hey, keep Indiana off our schedule this year.
Michigan's down, but we don't want to play them this year. They're down.
Yeah, so, part of it is just,
you only play who they put in front of you, bud.
And, also, I think fans always feel like their team is being disrespected. That's probably, so it's probably not as bad as we're imagining it to be, but it does feel like Penn State and Indiana in particular get dogged for their schedule, and I'm just not seeing that great of a schedule here anywhere among these first round teams in the playoffs. And really, it's not like there's a ton of marquee victories out there. I mean, Oregon's win over Ohio State is certainly a very good win. Georgia's wins over Texas are good wins. I mean, there are good wins, but it's like a handful of, that's a really big win that team has. There's just not a lot of those opportunities. Even if you go out of your way, and again, like Texas tried to schedule a big time game. They went to Ann Arbor. You're going to penalize Texas because they Michigan's down after their championship year.
Who was their non-conference? Who was their big win?
Well,
am I missing this?
That's fair too. We'll take a break here. Be back with more. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on Sports Radio 98.7 the Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
Oh, those guys. They're still on the radio?
Yep.
We are back. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be if you are a sports fan. Really, even if you're not a sports fan. But if you're a sports fan, my gosh, they have all of the sports on all of the TVs. You can come on down and watch some volleyball tonight. Could also watch some NFL action. We will have the NFL game for you, the Broncos at the Chargers tonight here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. Our coverage will get underway at 7:30 with that one. But again, on ESPN, it is the NCAA Women's Volleyball Final Four. It'll be top-ranked Pitt taking on Louisville at 6:30. Half hour after that match ends, Penn State and Nebraska will square off with the winners meeting Sunday afternoon at 3 for the national championship. Come on down to Quaker Steak and Lube, enjoy some great food, great service, and they have some tasty beverages, I've noticed, Goon, here at Quaker Steak and Lube as well. You could perhaps partake in some holiday joy while you're here as well.
You know, my whole thing about the sports world is that there's multiple events going on and I like to watch, this is the great spot.
You got
so
that
tonight
right.
You got the NFL game, you got a bowl game, and then you have the women's Final Four and women's volleyball. So
is there a bowl game tonight? I thought tonight was an off night.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's Georgia Southern, Sam Houston State. So, not one of those games you're like, I got to watch that. But if it's on, you'll watch it.
It's football.
You'll watch it.
I'm
watching UNLV last night. Like, oh, God, I'm watching JMU early. That was a good game, the JMU game.
Yes, that was. I fell asleep very early on in the UNLV game. But
and it was, bowl week is great. And it's a shame when it's become attendance-wise because it's like you're not part of the 12. I'm interested to see. Just think about this, like Alabama and Michigan, how well attended that bowl game will be. They're two monster schools, monster alumni bases, fan bases, all of that stuff, but they're not playing for anything other than, the name.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how many people actually go to those games. And if this is a result of, the playoff just squashing out the smaller bowl type of thing.
Yeah.
And like I've always said, a bowl trip is a reward for your team for a successful season. Obviously, a successful season now is 500 at 6-6, and you can go to a bowl game. So
yeah, California with its loss last night to UNLV,
losing season.
the bowl team finishes 6-7 on these seasons. So
and then and like I said from the start, is I'd be interested, and I did not see if the players are being compensated for these playoff games. Is there shared revenue for them down the road? Because honestly, I know that there's different streams of income for these guys now that I didn't have, but our big stream of income back in the day was our bowl trip, and you get bowl money. I think at the Rose Bowl they gave us like $750 for the week. And, there was a couple of nights you didn't have a dinner, so you were in charge of your own food. And that's what just a lot of that stuff and that type of stuff. But, if you could save money, you save money. And that's where we could make our money. And I'm just interested to see, Alabama and Michigan are definitely going to a bowl. They'll get a bowl week. They'll be at Disney. They'll be at whatever, all the places down there. And they'll get a bowl check. But I don't know if our guys will actually specifically get a bowl check because I go back to this. The 4 losers this weekend do not go to a bowl. You are done. Your season is over. There's no reward of going to Florida, Texas, California, the Bahamas, any of that. So,
yeah. So a couple of things on the Brennan asks or says SEC shouldn't play D2 teams week 12. Which is also a fair point. And again, I think and listen, the fact that the SEC plays 8 conference games while the Big Ten plays 9 is significant also because in alternating years, the Big Ten schools are on the road 5 times in their conference. So to go back to the schedule, again, a school like Penn State relies on the 7 home games to make the budget work. And if you only have 4 conference home games and you only have 3 non-conference games, well, guess what has to happen with those 3 non-conference games? And you're not getting Power 4 schools to come in and we'll just do a one-off and visit your place. That's not the way that works. So, yes, I don't like the schedule next year for Penn State in terms of, marquee value outside of the home game with Oregon.
Precisely.
It is not an appealing home schedule. But completely understand the position Penn State's in and why it does it. And it's not just, yes, do you want some W's on there? Sure. But also, it is hard to get that home and home scheduled so that it matches up right because it's not always alternating years that you're doing the 5 and the 4 in terms of home and away. I think at some point, there, one way or the other, whether everybody plays 8 conference games or everybody plays 9, whatever, that needs to even out. And if you have again, a commissioner of college football or a group that centralizes all of this and maybe handles the scheduling, even for the conferences, to try to balance it out a bit. And again, there is no system that's going to be perfect because there's always too many moving parts. And, we've seen over the years, Goon, it's like, man, this is a can't miss team. This team's going to be there at the end. And nope, that either injuries or it just didn't come together. I way too often go back to that 79 Penn State team, but I mean, that was a loaded with talent roster, and it did not pan out well for the Nittany Lions. And you always have teams that are surprises. Indiana this year, where it's like, well, all right, we're going to try to match you up and give you a win here. Well, thanks. You gave us the juggernaut for the season. So it's always going to have some variance in there.
The other thing about this setup is that the SEC plays 4 out of conference games.
Yep.
They play their top 3, earlier in the year.
Yep.
I.e., we play Villanova, Nevada, and a MAC school normally, or Delaware type of thing, And then we got 9 straight Big Ten games. I think what jumps out from the SEC is, first of all, the MAC does not want to play Penn State in Week 10 because they're still trying to win their division. I can see in the first 3 weeks they're going to fund their program. The problem with the SEC is that they're doing this the week before the last game of the season against their rival. They're trying to get a cupcake in there, so they just, it's just a glorified scrimmage out there.
Yeah,
and it looks horrible. But there's no MAC school that's going to sign up for a Week 10 beating from a Big Ten or an SEC school because they're still trying to compete and win in their conferences.
Yes and no. I mean, if the Big Ten wanted to strong arm them and say, hey, if you want the paycheck, this is when you do it, I think they would.
If we go back to 8 games, we'd have to do that, obviously, but I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
I mean, the SEC now has how many teams? 16 teams. I mean, you need to start playing 9 games. I'm sorry.
Or a lot. Again, it doesn't matter to me which way you go. As we've said before, I think eventually we're heading to
the conferences,
more regional,
and
more regional play.
It does not behoove you. It does not behoove Alabama to go play at Wisconsin this year. It does not behoove Texas to go play at Michigan. There's no point to it nowadays with the scheduling and when the way this year. When it came down to your record versus who you lost to and the losses and timing and stuff. So you can see where the SEC is mad, but in the same sense, it's like you do this exact same thing. So don't sit there because you and I have said it for this whole past year. It seems like the SEC strengthened their program and we watered the Big Ten down with the 4 additional teams and they added Oklahoma, which was obviously a down year for them. But hey, lo and behold, they smack Alabama. So, is the Big Ten watered down when you're not playing 8 teams is it 8? Yeah, you're not playing 8 teams a year. That's a lot of teams in your conference that you're not playing.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no right or wrong, yes or no answer to this.
Yeah, it's why, again, if you went to, let's just say 2 conferences, and whether you call them the Big Ten and the SEC or you call them Conference 1 and Conference 2 or whatever you do, if you do that and you divide each into 4 regions, then I think Southwest, Southeast, Northeast, Northwest, then no system is going to be perfect, but then I think you can have a centralized individual or group that says, all right, these are you're going to play the groups in your division, in your conference, and then you'll have a couple of crossover games, maybe a couple of crossover games with the other conference. Like, that's what I think we're eventually heading toward
to do.
I think that's where we're heading.
It should do that
because the costs are going to be, if not prohibitive, it just does not make sense, right? To keep sending teams east as far west as they are on a regular basis, and certainly especially for the 4 Western teams in the Big Ten to have them consistently going east with all of the sports. Like it just doesn't make sense when you can easily break this up and make it more regional in terms of the scheduling. And then again, whether you have a conference championship game, maybe go to 8 conference games, go back to the 11 game regular season if you want to keep a conference championship game, or leave it at 12, do away with the conference championship, just take the top 2 teams in each division of each conference and have a 16-team playoff. You just have the 1 seeds, the champions of the divisions at home. You have the runners-up, cross-sectionally going on the road. However you work that out. It feels to me, yes, it is what I would like to see. Also feels like that's the direction we're heading, and eventually we'll get there. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be in the next couple of years. I think the 16-team playoff will be within the next few years, but
yes,
how this all settles out.
I think you'll lose 50 schools to playing Division I football. I think the MAC will cease to exist. A lot of the Mountain West teams are not going to want to, they just can't. It's going to come down to that. Like, hey, are you in or are you out? This is going to cost you $75 million a year as an athletic program. That's it. Yes or no?
Yeah, and I do think there will be a middle ground established where it's like you're not big-time college football, but you're that next level where, again, maybe you still give some scholarships. Maybe there's some NIL money available. Well, I guess that's always going to be available now for anybody anywhere. But it is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out and what parameters are put in place, who puts them in place, and who agrees to them. That's still, to me, Goon, like we still do not know how we know that player representation is going to occur.
Yes.
Like that is going to be part of the college athletic world. What that looks like and who is actually doing that is very unclear at this point. And again, the conference commissioners are ultimately going to make the calls on this stuff. But do we get a centralized, agreed upon by them, a centralized, again, person or group that, all right, we'll put together the schedules, we'll figure out the payouts, all of that stuff. It feels like that's almost what needs to happen, because you can't, and even with I just got into another discussion yesterday on and there's so much uncertainty around this, but on at the moment, $22 million payouts, you can have, as I understand it anyway, right now, again, one school can say, we're spending all $22 million on our football players. Another school can say, we're going to divvy it up completely evenly among all of our student athletes. Another school, like there's no parameters. And the discussion I got into was, well, do you want the conferences to put parameters? And it's like, well, no, because you're still, and I'm speaking for me, no, I don't want that, because, and this is what I don't know how you can get, I hate the term fairness and even equity, because that's not really it's not an achievable goal here when you have the athletic departments as varied as we have right now, where Ohio State has whatever it is, 36 or 37 varsity programs, and you have schools out there that have 14. Well, no matter what the formula is, it's not going to be equitable, and we could argue on the fairness. So does an Ohio State just, all right, well, we'll drop 20 sports to make this more equitable? And again, I don't know. I just don't know how all of this gets decided. The percentages seems to be the way most schools are doing it. But again, the percentages, the actual money varies greatly. Like you were talking about the other day with the, 75% of the 22 million going to the 105 football players actually works out
less than the 12 basketball players.
Yes, than the 15% or 10% for basketball, because you have 12 players there. Well, so how do you work that out? And again, at some schools,
yes,
there are, like wrestling is very big here. Lacrosse is very big at like Johns Hopkins or Syracuse, or so certain schools, certain programs, it's like, yeah, we want to fund these guys a little extra because it's a bigger deal for us here. But you've got to have some sort of parameters on both ends, by the way, because it's not going to do these sports or, the fans and really ultimately the athletes either any good to say, all right, and that's what we were talking about with wrestling the other day. All right, it's great that you're going to 30 scholarships in theory. It's like, oh, man, 30 scholarships a team. Great. Well, no. They could legally all offer 30 scholarships. I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to be more than 5 or 6. I need to do a little more digging but I cannot imagine that outside of like Oklahoma State, Iowa, Penn State, that there are many teams, many schools that are willing to even entertain the thought of 30 scholarships. So the question then becomes, all right, but to maintain Division I status, do you say there needs to be, well, you have to offer at least 10 then, or 15 or 5, whatever it is. Like, but you can't have the possibility, I don't think, of having, a handful of schools have 30 scholarships. I mean, this is why football, right? You had schools that were like 150 players were getting money, and you had other schools that were like 50. And the NCAA is like, well, this isn't like, we can't operate. Everybody has to have, well, you can't mandate 30 scholarships be given for wrestling programs and have wrestling survive as a varsity sport. And same thing with all of the, like, whatever it is with baseball. I think it's 30 plus. I've got 30. I have to look up the number, but
have the sustainability to
no school does.
Yeah.
To sustain what like a bunch of the Big Ten, like what Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State are supporting. If you maxed out the scholarships in all of those sports and had the school pay for it, well, that doesn't, even with all of the money being thrown around right now in college athletics, it's not going to be sustainable. And so, again, there's some creative things that maybe you can do with the endowments or creating other marketing opportunities within those programs. But you're like the university, I'm saying, the athletic department can't itself sustain. Like the coaches, and we kind of go back almost to the club model, even though it's a varsity sport, where like when Penn State hockey was a club sport, like they had to go out and raise the money. They sold, Joe Batista sold the logos and the ice there to benefit the program. So there are opportunities there. And again, for some programs, they're realistic opportunities. It's like, yep, we can raise enough money to sustain our program. But for a lot of programs, it's not. There's just not enough interest in, Podunk U's swimming and diving team, where there's just no rich alumni and there's just not that much interest. So if you don't have enough programs, even if your school is willing to, yep, we can go all in, if there's only 3 other schools doing that, well, you don't have enough to make it varsity sport competitive. And like, men's volleyball and men's gymnastics are on the brink as it is. Like, they're playing almost everybody every year that there is to play. that's not a great spot for sports to be in. So
the other thing that we have you're talking about is that $22 million. That's all speculative. There is nothing. There's no fruition for or against that number. I have no idea. We have no idea where that $22 million came from. And
the NCAA and the schools and the conferences said, that sounds like a good number, which is great.
But there's no one speaking on the players' behalf.
Correct.
Yes.
At no point have the players said, that sounds pretty good to us.
I don't know how they're going to. How can they collectively bargain?
That is
bargaining with type of thing. And by the way, I know we're going to break. But did you see Vanderbilt's quarterback suing the NCAA for more tenure? For more time.
Well, Booch called this weeks ago.
Years ago, he said this is going to happen. So he actually was a JUCO guy for 2 years, and that started his national NCAA clock. And his argument and his lawsuit is, it's not an NCAA regulated event. Why does my clock start then? He makes a point. He's suing the NCAA right now, possibly. And there's a guy who does not correlate to the NFL, so he could stay in the NCAA for 2 more years, and he can make a lot of money, a lot more money than he would make as a college grad first year out. It's happening.
And we're going to have many more cases like this. Again, as we've been saying for a long time, the big winners in all of this, the lawyers. They always come out on top.
Imagine that.
We will be back with more. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Thursday afternoon. We're at Quaker Steak and Lube, and you are locked into Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
2 of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, once again.
The Fox, your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America. 98.7, The Fox, State College, the Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back into the
Eagles
Country
Steelers
Kia
chanting going on.
Goon and Ironhead show. Oh, frustrating. Looks like chance that TJ Watt will play on Saturday against the Ravens, which would be welcome news for sure for these Steelers. Chance to win the division if the Steelers can prevail in Baltimore on Saturday after
You
Penn
lost
State
the game
and
and went to the
SMU.
playoffs. You got a playoff. You're eligible.
Yep, we'll take it.
Yeah, and then I'm hearing that you might be playing Carson Wentz on Christmas Day, possibly. That's Mahomes' backup, so.
Mahomes is not going to miss any games.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't play him this week.
He's playing.
Why?
Because he wants to play.
I don't know,
ankle's looking pretty good. He was moving around pretty well yesterday.
He hasn't missed practice, so he's not. If he's out there practicing, he is not going to miss a game. So
no, I mean, we'll see, but I think he's going to play. Limited participant. He was at practice, did a couple of things, but not fully participating in practice.
They just
so
threw
we'll
a toss
see.
play up there, Jeff. Did you see that? It wasn't a Najee though.
That one looks like it worked.
Did you see how he caught the ball and then ran?
That's a interesting concept there, huh? Catch the ball and then run. Well,
You weren't stopping him anyway, Alan.
Different teams try different things, I suppose.
Yeah, but you're going to get into the next time they play in the Super Bowl. Who has the advantage? It's our age-old conversation, Ironhead. Is it easier to beat a team a second time or to be the loser coming back and because you're going to change? Dude. So I want to talk. What do you feel Friday night? I want to go through the 4 games. I mean, again, all of these teams you can put them into a. If you shake them all up and say who have they played, it's really, you got to give the SEC a little bit of credit, and they have a little bit more. But is that the SEC ranking their teams a lot higher like they normally do, and sort of commandeering the rankings? But Indiana has really, they have played 0. They played Ohio State, and they look like an Indiana team playing against Ohio State.
Yep.
Now, with that said, they were fantastic against the other 11 teams they played this year, and they deserve to be in this. Now, Notre Dame, your Army-Navy wins. What are you really bringing to the table? You lose at home to Northern Illinois. You don't have a marquee win. I mean, do you see Indiana going out there and possibly winning this game? I do.
I think Notre Dame will win it. And that's what I will predict. But I will say it is not going to be shocking to me if Indiana wins. I think the matchup here is a good one for Indiana in terms of having a real shot here. What impressed me about Ohio State in its game with Indiana is Ohio State's offense being able, and listen, they did a better job than I expected against Indiana's offense on the defensive side. But I thought Ohio State moved the ball very effectively, and I think that is where Indiana is going to struggle against Notre Dame. For Indiana to win, I think it's going to need to get into the 30s. I think that offense is capable of getting into the 30s. But the fact that it's in South Bend, I mean, the home field advantage, I do think, is significant in all four of these games. Yeah. I really do. And I know it's in the state of Indiana. I know Hoosiers fans are trying to eat up as many tickets as they can. I don't think they're going to get a ton. I'm seeing different stories and, oh, look out, Hoosier invasion. Notre Dame, like all of these schools, is fired up. Like that fan base is not out there selling a bunch of tickets. Now, could Indiana's probably going to have a better visiting presence than any of the other first round games. But again, they're right up the road. And, if you get a handful of tickets, relative handful, it's going to make a difference there. So at the end of the day, I think Notre Dame wins it. I'm expecting it to be, again, a close game, but I think Notre Dame pulls away at the end and 38-27, something like that. I think it'll be a pretty high scoring game is my expectation. Yeah. I just think Notre Dame, one, is a little better team, and two, at home is going to be able to ride that juice at the end.
Like SMU and Indiana, they can hang. I think their starters can hang, but as the game wears on more and more, the horses take over, and that is a team like, a Notre Dame and a Penn State they have better recruits, they have bigger, stronger players, they have the better team. It's just getting to that point where they're going to wear them down, and then then the horses take over, and that's like, SMU can hang with us, Indiana can hang with Notre Dame. Can they hang with them for 4 quarters at a pretty dogged pace, a pretty hardcore game? And that is no. The answer is no, because just look back at the recruiting. How many more players Notre Dame and Penn State have over top of Indiana, over top of SMU? So I think what you just said, them being close and this and that, I think that Indiana falls short because but I do think that there will be a bigger Indiana presence that you're thinking. I think that everybody and their mother who's from Indiana will want to go to that game. And Notre Dame has sold out. Notre Dame has sold out their tickets to other fan bases on multiple occasions, and no one's talking about it's not easy getting to State College, but in South Bend, Indiana, I mean, it's I know it's a city and stuff like that, but it's going to be hard to get to, and it's a night game. I mean, the weather can play a whole big part into that.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm telling you, I've not been this excited about a football weekend, and
I'm with you,
man.
Yep.
Ever.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's almost to the point where I'm literally pinching myself. Like, this is really happening, and there's part of me, like, I've caught myself a couple times this week. It's like, man, this is actually going to happen. A playoff game. An actual, honest-to-God playoff game at Beaver Stadium. Like, it's just been such a pipe dream for so long that to see this thing coming to reality and, knowing that we're now, just a couple of days away. I mean, at this time, Saturday, we'll pretty much know the result. Game should be over, and we're going to know whether Penn State is heading to Tempe or not in, whatever it is, 45 hours from now.
Somebody today tells me there's not a buzz downtown, not a student buzz. They were like, it feels like it's not a big home playoff game and this and that. It feels like an Indiana or Rutgers or a Maryland game. And I was like, it's finals week.
Yeah, it is finals week.
Finals week. These kids are going out for 1 hour a day to it. It's not like they're in and out of classes all day and they're everywhere. First of all, half of them are probably already gone. If not already gone.
Yeah.
Of course there's not going to be a buzz downtown,
Not the same.
And there's only, I think that they only sold 5,000 student tickets is what they broke down to.
I think Friday night and Saturday, it's going to have that.
It'll fill back up.
Once I leave town, this town will start.
Ironhead's not here. We got to get back
the
up
party
there, man.
begin. Yeah, so as far as the Penn State SMU game itself, Goon, so where I do think Penn State I think SMU has the clear advantage in receivers. I think the quarterback play, truthfully, is pretty even. Different style of quarterbacks for sure, but Aller's a better runner than I think he gets credit for. This kid can both run and throw for SMU, where I think SMU may be in for a bit of a surprise, including Jennings, is, and I'm going to go back to this Oregon game because I when you go back and look at it, the results are the results. Hats off to Oregon. That offense made Penn State's defense look bad. But Penn State, so many times, Goon, was like, oh, man, like another split second, and that would have been a sack. They got the one fumble, and it just bounced the wrong way. I really think, and this isn't, in my mind, it's not necessarily a difference between Gabriel and Jennings, although I will say Gabriel was phenomenal in sensing and knowing, like his timing was amazing. Yeah. I mean, it really was. It's like, oh my gosh, if he held like literally a split second longer. So he had a tremendous feel. And I'm not sure, Jennings is very good in that regard. I'm not sure that a quarterback can play better in terms of sensing when he needed to get rid of the ball than Gabriel did in the Big Ten championship game. But I also think that is a really good offensive line for Oregon. And while I think this is a good offensive line for SMU, I don't think it's as good as Oregon's. Yeah. And I think that split second, both with Jennings maybe not having the timing, we'll see on that part. But I think Penn State's defense will get home more often in this game than it did against Oregon.
And I'm going to throw this out there. It's going to sound weird, but Oregon might be a different team on turf. There's that little split second. It's a faster game on turf, man. So whereas this weekend you got SMU coming to town here on, it's not going to be a wet surface or a frozen. It'll be cold surface, but the field is beautifully maintained. That'll be beautiful. But those split seconds that Oregon was making those big plays and stuff like that, they might be negated. But also the same thing goes to our defense may be negated by the field type of thing. But yes, Abdul, this is a major league coming out party, man. Like, he's on the national scene now already. We all know that. But this could be like, oh, wow, this is a J. Davy and Clowney type of performance right now. But J. Davy and Clowney type of guy. I mean, they're saying he could raise himself. He's probably in the top 10 right now. He could probably get within the top 5 with a very successful, playoff
postseason,
and then Sutton, the same thing. I mean, there's a guy right there. I mean, there are people, I know people who know football, and they are saying he is just as good, if not better, than Abdul in certain situations, and that says a lot, man. You got 2 of those ball hawks on the outside. Bring it on, man. Bring that one on.
Yeah, and listen, so at the end of the day, I think the line of scrimmage is where Penn State is going to win, and it's not that I think SMU is awful there, right? They're not. I think it is a good offensive line. I think it is a good defensive line that SMU will bring to Beaver Stadium. I just think Penn State is a little better on both fronts. And with the way that offensive line really established itself against Oregon, against a really good defensive line, I have a lot of confidence, and
we run like that, man. Ooh.
Yes, and I do think if it is a windier day, and it at least seems like there's a chance that is going to be the case, that does, I think, play in Penn State's favor, because I think Penn State will hold its own and then some on the defensive line of scrimmage in terms of the run game, and I am really confident right now, Good, in what this Penn State offensive line and running backs can do. And by the way, throw Drew Aller and Tyler Warren in there with what they can do with their feet as well behind this line. And I think, while again, to me, SMU has the clear advantage in wide receivers, I also think it is encouraging. We're seeing a little more production from that receiving core for Penn State, kind of week by week down the stretch here this season, to where it's not going to be unprecedented. Oh my gosh, a receiver just made a play. I think you've gotten just enough to say, yeah, I think we can be okay there. They, have come up with some big plays and some big moments here these last few games. So
we run the ball the way we did against Oregon, we're going to be in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's hard to see how certainly SMU would win, and I tend to agree with you.
They were vicious. That was an intent and ill will to do to Oregon. And then again, you said it. That was a very good front seven. That was one of the best, if not the top front seven in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
and they humiliated them. We got to clean up our defense and this and that. But if we can run the ball the way we did against Oregon, my lord, that's going to be unbelievable. We're going to get ready hold on, because we're going to go for a little ride, boys and girls. And that's the thing. If you can get that run game going early, get them to have to throw the ball, get our ball hawks out there hawking him down. I mean, wow, man. I mean, it's pretty easy to sit there and say this on paper and or just between me and you. But, I mean, that's what they're talking about in the locker room and in the meeting rooms is, hey, man, run the ball, win the game, bottom line, boom.
Well, and listen, the other thing, so on the defensive side of the ball, there's a few things that I guess I'm banking on, and we'll see, again, how it plays out. First of all, if you're not aware, I mean, this is a really good offense that SMU brings to town. They do a lot of things really, really well. But one of the things that was frustrating from the Penn State perspective in the Big Ten championship game was they could not very often get Oregon off schedule. And the couple of times they did, Oregon came up with a big 3rd and long conversion. I think SMU will have a very difficult time coming up with the 3rd down conversions that Oregon did in terms of the distance if it gets there very often. Again, I think Tom Allen will make some subtle changes, with the I have no doubt that SMU watched the tape of the Oregon game and it's like, all right, this is, or the film or whatever you call video now of the game. They saw what everybody saw, and it's like, all right, that's our formula.
Yep.
I think Tom Allen knows that, and I think SMU, again, I think they at least feel, and I think to a large degree that they're right. They have a similar offense in terms of what it can do against Penn State to what Oregon had. But again, the timing with Gabriel was phenomenal in that game. And I do think it's a good point you make, Goon, where, all right, you're on the turf and you're indoors. I don't know that Dylan Gabriel and that offense, as good as it is, if you get them in Beaver Stadium here Saturday.
And our crowd.
Right, that it's operating quite the efficiency. And I also think, while I think SMU is a terrific offense and I think they're comparable, I think Jennings is just a slight notch below Gabriel. Again, there's a reason Dylan Gabriel went to New York City for the Heisman ceremony. Again, it's no disrespect. I think Jennings is a fantastic dual threat quarterback. And if he has a big game, and I think he's capable of having a big game, he can keep SMU right in it till the end. I mean, he is that type of a force. But I also think two things. I think Penn State will change things just a little bit here and there schematically. I think the fact that you have weather and the Beaver Stadium crowd, it's just a different energy. And I think that the matchup at the line of scrimmage is slightly more favorable for Penn State in this one than it was against Oregon. And again, Penn State had 4, 5, 6 opportunities to have big-time, disruptive, game-changing plays against Oregon, and they just missed time after time. You get home on 3 or 4 of those against SMU, and instead of a 2nd and 6, they're facing a 2nd and 16. You do that again, just 2 or 3 drives over the course of the game, and you get that ball back. That's the difference between losing to Oregon the way Penn State did and coming out on top the way I believe it will this week.
Saturday is going to be so loud in there. And it may be less people than we're normally used to, but I think the people that are coming, they want to be there.
Yeah.
They want to be there. They want to be loud and crazy. They want false starts. They want people missing snap counts. And that's all stuff that's going to help this team and get through this game. And I think that the fans that are coming to this game are the ones who really, really, really want to be here. You know, they're not like, it's India or it's a Maryland game. We got to go. We have tickets. No, you went out of your way to buy these tickets, get up here and get to this game. It means a lot to a lot of people. It really does. And, you know, the greatest way to show that is to be loud as hell, man. Crazy out there.
Yeah. I really do think there is just a sense of purpose right now within that Penn State locker room, that there is a realization of the opportunity that is at hand, how special this could be. And I think the legacy of this year's team is important to everybody in that locker room. And I think all of that, again, when you're at home, it's just different. There's a different sense of urgency, I guess, Goon, I think, that will be there with this team than there will be even next week or in a couple of weeks when they go to Tempe. Now, with each step, again, you're getting closer, different hunger. But I think the urgency is, like, we do not, I'm saying within that locker room, they are saying we do not want to have our last memory for the seniors be walking off the first playoff experience for Penn State miserable, right? Like that is, as we've been talking about, I mean, that is the disaster scenario. And it takes away, to me, at least in the moment, and I think even beyond the moment, to me, I think it is going to take away the goodwill that has been engendered by this program for the last 3 years. It is gone. Because the whole purpose between the reason you get excited about a home playoff game is you get to see a home playoff win. That's why you're excited about that game. And I think there's that urgency within the locker room. I don't think it's going to be stated, and I don't know that I'm right about this, but I think for SMU, there is a feeling that this is the beginning of something big within that program.
Yep.
And I don't think there's the urgency or the sense of legacy. They've established the legacy. They have brought SMU football back.
Correct.
Like, they have put SMU back on the map. It feels like this has been a climb, a journey for Penn State since James Franklin got here toward now the opportunity to get to that ultimate destination. And I think they feel it in that locker room. I don't know that SMU, and I don't know, again, I don't follow. I find it hard to believe that there is a feeling within that locker room that, man, we need to go out and take advantage of this opportunity now because we don't know if this program's going to get it again. I think the seniors at SMU, if they lose this game Saturday, they're going to be disappointed. Again, everybody that's playing right now is dreaming of, they want to be a part of a national championship team. I get it. It's just a small degree of, I think, a different mindset where Penn State believes it should win the national title. I think in that locker room, they believe they are the best team. They just need to correct some mistakes from the Ohio State and the Oregon games, and they want to go out and prove it. I think to some degree, SMU comes up here saying, man, what a great season this has been. Cool opportunity. Let's go out and see what happens here at Beaver Stadium. And listen, in some ways, maybe that's to their advantage. We'll see how things play out where you're not feeling like, man, we have to do it. That can play to your advantage. I just have a really good feeling about where this Penn State team is. I do think this is a dangerous SMU team. I think this is a really good SMU team. And I don't think it's a given the Penn State wins. I like the approach that Penn State is taking. I've watched a lot of the player interviews this week, and they seem dialed in and understanding just what an opportunity they have. And again, to me, it feels like they recognize, again, this is kind of the end of the journey. And I don't mean that if they win the national title, then we're good. We don't have to worry about anything anymore. But I think they really feel like this, what they've been building toward for the last, certainly all of their careers, but even before that, can culminate here. I just don't think that's the feeling around that SMU program. I don't know how it could be the feeling around that SMU program.
Yeah, they're going to go out there. They're going to roll it out there. I mean, they got to be sitting there. Of course, they're going to say we got to go up there to win, but they also have the bright eyes, in my opinion. I mean, these guys are still paying to be in the ACC. By the way, we haven't spoken.
Yeah, that's another.
Like they're not even getting paid for all of this because they want to be in the ACC that bad. So how bright are their eyes? I mean, where have they been? They're going to compete with, whether they're going to compete with in 2 days here. It wasn't in the ACC title game against Clemson. I can guarantee you that. I mean, there wasn't. That's a neutral site game. This is a game where we're going to have 85 to 110,000 people out there, just ruckus, crazy. Like I told you, Marco said, all they're worried about is all they're talking about is the weather. And it's just like, you guys talk about your game plan and what's going on here. I mean, they're worried about the weather more than anything else, or that could be the media, whatever. But they're coming up here. They're going to have some fun. They're going to roll it out there, throw it around a little bit. Our best opportunity is to just go down there, squash them from the start, get their, break their spirits a little bit, get our crowd into it big time, because our crowd is going to be hungry.
Yep.
I just have that feeling that our people are starved. We have, specifically Penn State, have been asking and begging for this playoff for 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's here, man. And it's finally here. And it is a home football playoff game at Penn State in Beaver Stadium on the week of Christmas, Jeff.
Yep. Taking a quick look at the other two games, Goon. I just think Texas. I think Dabo Swinney is a terrific coach, and I think we'll have Clemson ready. But I just don't think they match up real well with Texas. Now, the quarterback situation for Texas is the one thing that could come into play here and maybe change things depending on how everything plays out. But I just think Texas is a much better team. The game that I'm really
are the overwhelming favorites of all of these games, in my opinion. I just don't think Clemson has many, like a leg to stand on right now. Coming in wobbly and this and that, and Texas can just knock them down real quick.
The game that I'm having the hardest time getting a feel for is that Tennessee-Ohio State game.
Who showed up, man?
Again, probably of all of the teams playing first-round games, I mean, I guess Ohio State's win over Indiana would be huge. I'm just trying to think if I'm missing anything, but I think Tennessee's win over Alabama. But again, that's a non-playoff team in Alabama, whether you think they should have been or not. I mean, that's the biggest win. Like Tennessee's in the SEC, but again, just the way the schedule worked out, they don't have, outside of Alabama, that marquee victory either. The fact that Tennessee is going to Columbus, I think is, and it's a night game. Like that's tough, man. That is tough for a Southern team to come up.
7:00 in the morning is tough because those fans are crazy. Now, I told you, those fans, this is the one that scares me.
Well,
and that is those fans. If it gets ugly, I'm telling you, they are going to turn on that team and turn on Ryan Day.
Even more than that, though, Goon, I don't know. Ohio State's players are saying the right things this week. It's a new season. We're excited. We know everything we dreamed about is in front of us. I don't know. And maybe that is what's in their heart, and they really feel it. And again, I can see that. I can see all kinds of different scenarios playing out here. I think Ohio State is the more talented team, but I think Tennessee has the more talented quarterback. And so I don't know. I keep arguing myself in and out of how I think this game is going to play out. At the end of the day, I think Ohio State at home with the talent it has, I just have a really hard time seeing how the Buckeyes lose this game. I think it'll be a very good game. I do think it'll come right down to the end. I think Ohio State finds a way. And I do think chalk holds here in the first round, and that the home teams, the higher seeded squads, win all 4 games.
It really should. This is a big advantage. We're not traveling tomorrow.
Yeah.
SMU's got to travel 2 time zones to get up here. And in the weather they have never seen ever. So it is a huge thing, man. So we got to take advantage of it. And we got to do it right. Get your booties here.
Yeah.
No excuses.
And we'll see. So even though I'm picking chalk, there's just, I feel like there's going to be an upset in one of these games. I mean, I'm not calling it, so I guess I don't feel strongly that that's the case.
You wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like there is going to be. And
as long as it's not in State College, PA.
Yeah, and listen, I think I'm having a hard time seeing how Clemson beats Texas, but the other 3 games, truthfully, including Penn State, SMU, to me, it would not be a shocking result if the visiting team wins. That there's good reasons there when you look at the matchups and what the teams have coming in. It's like, well, yeah, I could see that happening, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm picking the favorites and the home team in all 4 of these first round matchups. Take a break here. Be back with a final wrap as we head into Christmas week. Again, no Goon and Ironhead show next week, as we'll take the week off for the Christmas holiday. May have something special brewing for the New Year's Eve show. If Penn State gets by SMU for that Orange Bowl matchup in the NCAA quarterfinals against Boise State. But we'll tell you more about that on Fox Sports Radio at 98.7 The Fox next week. We're back with a final wrap here on this Thursday. You're listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
2 of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, Hunting Gas.
Your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority. WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox. State College. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we are back for a final segment on this Thursday. Again, we are taking Christmas week off, as we are wont to do. So no Goon and Ironhead next week. We will be back the following week, perhaps at a different time. Well, stay tuned. We'll get all of the information out about that, assuming things go the way we want them to go this weekend. We may have an earlier air time there on New Year's Eve. Of course, New Year's Eve is when the winner of the Penn State SMU game will play next, 7:30 at the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State on New Year's Eve. And, Good. It is one of those things, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you can't help it. I've been saying all year, like it just felt like all of these little things were playing in Penn State's favor. Kickoff time with West Virginia, just the whole way the schedule played out. And even now, so you have the home game against SMU, then the Fiesta Bowl, which has been Penn State's home away from home when it comes to bowl games.
7-0.
And then you have an opportunity. So I think you have a chance to obviously gain momentum, get a couple of playoff wins, not taking anything for granted. I'm saying you're looking at this and you can't help but say, boy, this is, I mean, if you drew this up, all right, Penn State in the playoffs, if you could pick anywhere that you could be for that first game, well, yeah, give us home. We want to be at Beaver Stadium. And then you can't be at home for the second game. So where, if there was any venue that you could pick that Penn State could select, all right, you can go here to play your bowl game, well, Penn State would pick Tempe. Get us to the Fiesta Bowl. We love it there. We've had great experiences every time there. That's where you go.
Even if we win that game, we've also had unbelievable experiences in the Orange Bowl, too.
Yes, and the thing is, so at that point, so then you get those 2 wins, right? Build up the confidence a little more. You're playing great. And now you get the opportunity to play either a Kirby Smart coached Georgia team, which gives you the chance. And I think if you're a Penn State fan and you're part of that Penn State team, you want the opportunity to shut the critics up, shove it up your, well, then you get that opportunity, right? Because Kirby Smart is, Paul Feinbaum will tell you that this is, Nick Saban and then Kirby Smart. Those are the 2 greatest coaches in the history of the sport, if you listen to Paul Feinbaum. All right, well, you want that opportunity if you're James Franklin. And if you don't get that opportunity, then what you get is maybe the game that gets folks most revved up outside of the Big Ten as a matchup for your team in Notre Dame, with the history there and the tradition of both schools. And it's like, well, yes. And if it's a Notre Dame team that just beat Georgia, Marcus Freeman is the hot commodity just as well. That is either way a marquee opportunity, or you get the Cinderella team in all of college football, and Indiana, and that Cinderella story will be through the roof if that's who Penn State is facing in that Orange Bowl matchup. And again, the storylines there and the opportunity there. Well, let's just find out who was the rightful Big Ten runner-up behind Oregon this year. The Tom Allen element from Penn State side, and Bo Prabula could end up going to Indiana. I mean, we could have all kinds of storylines. So regardless of which of those three teams, that is what an opportunity. Yeah. What a great matchup for Penn State to have. And I think, again, any of those three games, certainly challenging. None of them feel like, oh, my God, well, Penn State's just going to have to play the absolute perfect game and hope they get a bunch of breaks because Georgia is not – this is not one of the all-time great Kirby Smart Georgia teams. No. This is a Notre Dame team that is really good, has been playing really well. I think Penn State matches up just fine.
And Georgia's beat up their quarterback. They don't know if he's
playing. That's – yes.
Well, no one talked about is that the play that the gunner – the quarterback guy?
Yeah.
He got absolutely knocked unconscious in that play.
Yeah.
And they had to bring in the starter with the torn UCL to hand the ball off. You can't. No one is even talking about the backup quarterback. Is he even? Is he moving?
I think he's been
clear. Yeah,
I hear you.
I mean, dude, that hit was nasty. But that's a very, very limping in Georgia team.
Yeah. So again, if Penn State then wins that game and takes advantage of the opportunity to kind of change the narrative and the perception a bit of James Franklin in this program, then you're playing for a national title. And again, at that point, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's what an opportunity. And again, I don't think there's a team out there that you're looking at. We just saw Penn State matched up very well with Oregon. Oregon won it. Hats off to them. But, Penn State was a play away from, sending that thing to overtime as well. And I think it would be a similar game. And again, any of the other teams, Penn State, would love an opportunity to get another shot at Ohio State. If that ends up being the opponent, if it's Tennessee, I mean, my gosh, what a storyline that. So again, regardless, you get to the national title game. Everything else is
starts Saturday, buddy.
Yes, is just
it's going to be so awesome at that point. Man.
So Penn State SMU.
I'll call you
Saturday at noon. What are the keys?
I'll let
you think?
I'll let you know the feel of the Saturday at the game.
Well, there you go.
I'll be there at 6:50 in the morning. So I'll give you a call in Nashville. I'll wake you up. Buddy.
Yep.
Give you a little wake up call. But yeah, the keys of the game. I mean, you. Okay, you've worked with me for 5 years. What am I going to say?
Well, you're all about the specialty players.
Yeah,
okay, you're all about the matchup with the offensive, with the receivers and the secondary. That's always where you go to, Goon. I always remember it, and I agree with you. We'll see how their receivers match up with our secondary.
Are so good. Our punters are fantastic. No, but I mean, it comes down to the defense, the fronts, the offense and defensive line. If we could control both of those lines, both sides of the line of scrimmage, it really would be game over. It really would. If their quarterback's running for his life out there, getting hammered out by Sutton and Abdul, and our defensive backs, make a couple picks here and there, and that's saying a lot. That's asking a lot and saying a lot. But we have the ability to do that. Offensive line, if we can run the ball the way we can run the ball, the way we saw our team run the ball, it's lights out, and we're beating anybody. I'm telling you, if we ran for 300 yards on Oregon, and against Oregon, knowing that we don't have great wide receivers, so they were just happy manning them up and putting 8-9 in the box, and we were still running the ball down their throat a couple weeks ago. So we have that same mentality, and I think that we do, and that's just like. You talk to Nick Dawkins. I talk to him a lot, and it's all about just controlling that line of scrimmage, and then imposing your will on the opponent. We get on them early, jump them early, get a couple scores on them, get our crowd into it, and have our defense suffocate that offense. It's gonna be lights out. I got us 31-10. That's what I picked.
Yeah, I think I think it'll be a closer game than that, but I really do like the matchups, and I think SMU has, again, it's not that I think their fronts aren't formidable. I really think Penn State has kind of taken that next step here as this season has progressed on both sides of the ball when it comes to the line of scrimmage, and I think one of the things that was really exciting to see from Penn State's perspective in that Big Ten championship game was the play of Nolan Rucci, because I just thought that was his best game by a good measure, Goon. And I think that line as a whole, we've talked about it, it's a more physical line than what Penn State has had. And so I think they are very good. And I think the decision-making by the running backs is really good. Singleton seems to be back at 100% from whatever it was that was ailing him. But when they are, I'm not saying it's 100%, just like Drew Aller isn't 100% when he goes back and, every now and then you're going to make a wrong read or a bad throw. I'm not saying they don't ever, boy, they shouldn't have cut there or whatever. But man, like 90% plus of the time, like, wow, they like the vision there, the decision to take that outside or to cut that back or to just take what you could get and plow up. Both those guys, Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, seem to be doing that at a very high level. And so that combination, that offensive line, the physical play there, and then both these running backs running with authority, I think it's going to be too much for SMU
Tyler,
over 4 quarters. Well, yeah, to say nothing of
Tyler, part of that offense.
And listen, I think, if you go down that route, again, SMU has some terrific football players. I don't know that they have anybody at any position that stands out the way an Abdul Carter does on the defensive line for Penn State, the way a Nicholas Singleton does in the backfield for Penn State, the way a Tyler Warren does at tight end, the way a Jalen Reed does at safety. Like, as you said, I think earlier, talk about the stars need to come out. The thing is, Penn State has more of the stars, more of the, again, elite, first team All-American type of players. And I just think, again, over 4 quarters at home, Penn State should, I think will, and as we keep saying, needs to go out and win this game. They just
thank God if it is an L on Saturday, it might be good that we'll have a week to digest before we actually can start talking about it on air. But
fair,
this is a major step this is the next step for James Franklin and this staff and this school. Getting to the Elite Eight type of thing, if we're going to call it that or whatnot. He has to put a couple wins together right now just to get the pessimists to shut up. He hasn't won. He hasn't done this. He did. Yeah. And it's just this. It is.
Well, and here's the thing, Goon, and I'm not saying this is right or fair, but truthfully, for that to happen, Penn State has to at least get to the national title game, because here's the issue. If they beat SMU and beat Boise State, what have they done? They beat a team that they were favored by almost a touchdown, or I haven't seen the latest line. Do you know what it is? Okay, so more than a touchdown.
Stayed at 8.5.
Boise State, they're projected as an 11.5 point favorite there. So winning those 2 games is not going to get the critics aren't going to say, "Oh man, he finally got the big game." They are big. They're big games. But I'm telling you, if we're addressing the critics aren't looking at that saying, "Oh, okay, man, I need to shut up about James not winning big games." Well, no, you beat 2 teams that I'm saying from the critics' standpoint, you beat 2 teams that you were favored by more than a touchdown, one at home. What do you want us to give? We're not going to erect a statue there, Skippy. So it's that semifinal game, and again, even if it's Indiana, and I don't think it'll be Indiana there, but if it's Notre Dame or Georgia, certainly now that is, you win that game, you can't say they didn't have a marquee victory, a big time.
Well, Notre Dame didn't play anybody.
Yeah, but at that point, you're going to the national title game. You can't.
And they play Texas, and they're going to say, "Well, no, Texas didn't play anybody either. He still didn't beat anybody."
Yeah, well, at that point, again, then all bets are off. But I think the just getting to the championship game. But honestly, to get the critics off your back, and not that I think that's I don't think Penn State's rallied in the locker room. Hey, let's get the critics off James Franklin's back. Let's go win this game. I don't think that's the driving force there. But yeah, the critics are going to be there unless they get at least to the national championship game. And that's a better situation than, I guess, Ryan Day, whose critics, even if they win the national title,
still didn't beat the
are
team up north.
going to say, I mean, that's just next level. I'm sorry, that's stupidity if you're a fan. That is, I mean, I'm a diehard Steelers fan, and I want the Steelers beating the Ravens every chance they get. But if the Steelers lose twice to the Ravens and win the Super Bowl, sorry, that I'll take that every time. Yep, sign me up every time. When Penn State was back playing Pitt, I wanted to beat Pitt desperately every year. If you're giving me a loss to Pitt and you win the national title, yep, I'll sign up for that every single year. Like, that's next level stupid. And again, I don't think it's necessarily a majority or even a significant percentage of the Ohio State fans, but
I mean, you can't spell fanatic without fit. You know,
that is very true.
That's the old adage, and they seem to really relish and prove that on a common basis. There, that's just insane, man. So. All right, man. We've waited a long time for this, Ed.
Yep, real quickly.
Good luck in Nashville.
Penn State Wrestling, yes. Sunday in Nashville, Eastern time. Penn State will face Binghamton at 3 o'clock, then Arkansas Little Rock at 5, and we'll wrap it up against 8th-ranked Missouri at 7 o'clock. Levi Haynes, an opportunity for maybe the match of the season to date. Keegan O'Toole is ranked number 1 for Missouri at 174. Haynes, of course, ranked 2nd. O'Toole with a couple of national titles under his belt. Haynes with a national championship under his belt. That should be a whole lot of fun. Josh Barr has a couple of big tests where he can, and I think will, start really enhancing his resume and getting people to understand just how good he is. I think the matchup with Rocky Elam in that Missouri meet in particular, I think will be must-see stuff. But Stephen Little is also very good for Little Rock. And again, a couple of great opportunities there for Barr. But Penn State looking to just continue to make progress toward the postseason. But 3 more meets at the Journeyman Collegiate Duels on Sunday afternoon. And again, the beloved Steelers, I think, will take care of business against the despised Ravens on Saturday. 4:30 kick. The Eagles will be at the Washington Commanders for a 1 o'clock kick on Sunday. And of course, good luck to the Penn State women's volleyball team tonight. Yep. Penn State taking on Nebraska in the NCAA semifinals. We'll be back again.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep.
Please.
New Year's Eve will be our next edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. To all, a very Merry Christmas and a very happy playoff.
Coast into fall. Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game.